Hey Jess,
Hi, Bree.
how are you?
I'm doing well today. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm so tired today.
Work draining you?
Not even work. I didn't have much to do. I just was really
Oh,
tired.
I have those days. I went to Starbucks and got me a coffee. I took a nap today too.
Yeah, that sounds good. Sounds like a good day.
I was like, I need some energy. I knew we
Oh,
were
I
gonna
feel that.
film, but I had to drink it before 6. I try to drink coffee before 6 o'clock so it doesn't like keep me up late at night.
Yeah, I feel that. Sometimes I can drink coffee and still go to sleep, but I'm an addict. So.
I used to be like that too, but I don't know. Now I just feel like I have to be more cautious of it.
Yeah. Okay, well, getting into today's episode, we're talking
Yeah.
about relationships.
hmm But
Something
more on
that,
the romantic relationship side, right?
yeah,
Not
yeah,
okay. Okay.
yeah. Boys. We're talking about boys. Speaking on relationships, I know like for me, my first thought when I think of romantic relationships
hmm
is marriage, like automatically.
Right.
That's my thought because I just know like growing up, like I grew up with my parents married.
hmm
So that's like my first thought of like thinking about a romantic relationship is your husband.
Yeah. Same.
And I think for me, I'm not gonna say it's a bad thing because it's a good thing, like, the goal is marriage, but I think for me, it put an unnecessary pressure on me when going into relationships because that's what I
hmm
saw, so that's what I expected at 17, 18, 19, 20 years old, like,
hmm
relationship, marriage, and everybody's not thinking that way.
No. No. I would agree because especially when you're dating with the intention to marry, like
Mhm,
that is the end goal. Like
mhm,
going into it can feel more pressure. Because
mhm.
it's like you don't want to make the wrong decision, and especially like in the culture of dating intentionally, it's like a lot of people will say like, oh, like who you choose to marry is going to be one of the most important decisions that you're going to make.
Yeah,
And I feel like that's a lot of pressure when
mhm.
you're just dating, and of course you want to like date well and you because you do want to be married, but that's just like a lot of pressure
It is a
for
lot of pressure.
sure.
Because when you think about it, it's literally forever. So,
Yeah.
which
Uh-huh.
everybody doesn't stay married, but I mean, you want to, like, that's originally why you go into it, is to
Mhm.
stay forever. And so that makes
Yeah.
me think about, um, like, a lot of people talk about how, like, people that do get married so young, like, in their early 20s, usually in their 30s or going
Mhm.
into their 30s is when they get a divorce, and then the people who were just dating start to get married, and then it's like that shift in people's lives.
Mhm.
I just think
Yeah.
that's crazy. I mean, of course, everybody that marries young doesn't get a divorce,
Mhm.
but it's like I feel like that's, like, a big thing, though, like, getting married so young.
And then getting divorced.
Yeah. Like, it just happens. At least I can, like,
Yeah.
with the relationships that I know, like, from people that I graduated with, that, like, graduated and got married, like, right after high school. A lot of
Mhm.
them are divorced now. A couple of them are still together, but most of them
Yeah.
are divorced.
Yeah. I would say, yeah, I feel like I've seen that too. I've
Mhm.
seen the getting married early and then getting divorced, and then also those that like wait. Um, I don't know though. Like, would you say that you have and I would you say that like you specifically, do you feel like it is a bad idea to get married early versus waiting
No.
or
I don't think it's bad. I think if I knew what I know now, I feel like dating
Mhm.
would be differently for me, but I think it's just really dependent on. And again, it goes to, like, your religious beliefs, but it depends on your
Mhm.
relationship with God because if it's a God-ordained marriage, then of course I feel like that's gonna work. So if you get married young, it doesn't matter. Of course, you'll have, issues and stuff, you're growing
Yeah.
up together, but you'll be able to get through it. But I feel like in some cases where people just kinda jump the gun and get married based
Mhm.
off of just pure emotion and not thinking deeper into, like, how are we gonna raise our kids and do finances
Mhm.
and stuff like that, then yeah, that's probably not the best decision. And being so young,
No.
you know things like that, so you just kinda go with it.
Yeah.
So I don't
Yeah,
think it's bad. I don't know, you gotta be cautious.
yeah, for sure. I would agree, I would agree. Me, like, personally, just because I haven't done a lot of dating myself, and I will in my mind would be like, "Man, like, I feel like maybe I should have started dating earlier." You know? But I, like, try to keep in my mind that, like, everyone's dating journeys are different,
Mhm.
and, it's, like, okay to be inspired by someone else's journey, but, like, you never wanna get to a point where, like, you're comparing how their history of dating is versus your own's, because I think that's, like, limiting God, you know? Because you
Yeah.
never know how he wants to show up and show out.
Exactly, and see, I think about that too because, like, I wish I didn't really date, even though I've only had,
Mhm.
like, 3 relationships, but I still feel like that's heartbreak that I didn't have to have, you
Mhm.
know what I'm saying? But
Mhm.
at the same time, I definitely learned a lot from it, and I do feel
Yeah.
like, it was needed for me. Everybody
Mhm.
doesn't need that. Everybody don't need tough love. I needed tough
Right.
love. Like, I needed to experience certain heartbreaks in order to learn certain things about myself and about
Mhm.
what I wanted and what I didn't want in somebody. Like, I
Yes.
think about my first heartbreak, my high school sweetheart. We were together for, like, 3 years, I think. That was a hard breakup because, like,
Mhm.
I didn't have anything to compare it to, so it was just, like, my first serious relationship. We started dating in high school, broke up in college. So, that was hard,
Mhm.
but I feel like I did learn a lot about relationships and
Mhm.
about myself, so that was a good thing. And then going into my next relationship, I feel like I learned I should have healed completely before going into
Yeah.
that next relationship.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I feel like with each breakup and each relationship, it taught me something different to take on to the next relationship. But now
Mhm.
I'm in a season where I'm like, I don't want to go through any heartbreaks. I just want God to teach me
Yeah.
instead of
Yeah.
having to experience it in order to learn it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
I do know
So
what you mean.
yeah, so I like because you talking about your history of not dating a lot,
Mhm.
but you've been able to allow God to really teach you and, like, you
Mhm.
learning things through your relationship with him and
Mhm.
whatever other ways you've learned. So I just feel like that is to me is a blessing in and of itself because you don't even have to experience the heartbreak, you know?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It goes to show because if I feel like there's different ways that you can prepare yourself, like, for dating and for marriage, even, like, outside of being in a relationship. I feel like that teaches you a lot too. But for me, without being in a lot of relationships, I, like, spent a lot of time, like I was like that girl, I was like, I wanted to watch the sermons, read the books. Remember, we even did a book club together.
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
had, did a book club, like, outside of that, outside of the one that we did together.
Mhm.
But, like, in my mind, it's kinda crazy you would think that, "Girl, why are you watching all these why are you watching all these, like, podcasts and stuff about, like, me being married and whatnot?" But in my mind, it was like, I know one day I do want to get married, and,
Mhm.
it was just me preparing to be the person that I would want to be married to. And
Mhm.
I'm like a hopeless romantic. Like,
Mhm.
I love my favorite movies are rom-coms. My mom and I can sit down and watch a Hallmark movie anytime, any day. You already know how they're gonna end, but we still
Mhm.
love it, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, like, I was, like, preparing just because I knew that one day I did want to be married. Um,
Mhm.
and it wasn't that I wasn't open to dating, right? It was just like there was never a door that opened that I really wanted to pursue fully. And so I just like took that time to learn.
Mhm.
outside, like, just, like, wisdom from other people that are
Mhm.
married or dating and trying to learn from, like, what they would consider, like, failures or whatnot, um,
Mhm.
but, I mean, I learned that way, and, just, like, spending time with myself, because people say, "Date yourself." If
Yeah.
you're not dating anyone, date yourself, learn yourself, and just because I do feel like when you are in a relationship, the moves that you make and maybe even the things that you do, you wanna take that other person into consideration, but,
Mhm.
like, in your time of singleness, you kinda, like, have that gift of being able to move without, like, really, like, selfishly just being able to think about
Mhm.
yourself, and I think that's a gift in itself. And then you can also learn what it is that you desire or what it is that you want, uh, when you go into a relationship or your next relationship without, like, being within a relationship. Because
Mhm.
sometimes, like, when you're with someone, you'll change things based off of that person? So just
Yeah.
being able to, like, kind of, like, set up a list and a foundation of the things that you want within a relationship without being in one.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that that's a good thing. I actually seen something where somebody was like, "My husband must be praying for God to hide me from everybody." And I thought that was so funny. I'm like, "Dang, I wish my husband would have prayed that," but it's okay. It's okay. But one thing that you said about, like, watching the videos and reading the books
Mhm.
and learning that and dating yourself pretty much, I feel like that is so important because a
Yeah.
lot of times like, I was talking to someone that I used to date, like, when we were dating, and we were talking about our dating history, and he had just been from relationship to relationship to relationship to like, there's no time in between, maybe, like, a month or 2. And I
Yeah.
was like, "Why do you just jump from relationship to relationship?" And he's like, "I don't know, I just kinda just move on." And I feel like a lot of times people don't really heal.
Mhm.
And if you don't heal, you're bringing like, you could think you're over it and you could think you're done until something triggers you. And I noticed one thing with him, like, he would bring up old things in his old relationships, like, "Oh, I know you're gonna do this," or "You're gonna do that," like, preparing for me to do stuff that wasn't in my character because that's what you were used to. So you weren't healed.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so
Yeah.
that's why it's important to date yourself, whether, you've had heartbreaks before or you haven't, you still have to heal, like, I mean, everybody has, like, some sort of childhood trauma. No
Mhm.
matter how great you were raised, there are some
Mhm.
things that you still do kinda have to just deal with. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because either way, it's shaped you. Like, I have a 2-year-old, and I'm purposing to raise him the best way I can, but I know I'm not
Mhm.
gonna be perfect. So I know there
Right.
is gonna be some things that when he does get older, he'll look at it and he'll be like, "Oh, I didn't really like that," or I'm not gonna do that as a parent," or whatever, "I didn't like seeing my mom and dad like this," or whatever the case may
Mhm.
be. So I feel like regardless, you have to date yourself, and you have
Mhm.
to make sure you're completely healed and whole before going into a relationship. Because I
Yeah.
don't care what nobody say, a month, 2 months after being with somebody for a year, 2, 3 years, you need more time. You need to, like, fully heal, and you need
Mhm.
to, like, fully face and address whatever it is, like, what was the like, 'cause I always think about, like, what was the reason we broke up? What was my part in it? And what did I learn from it?
Yeah.
Always, because I don't ever wanna leave a relationship and feel like I got nothing from it or feel like I couldn't grow from it in some way. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I feel like that is, like, super important, especially for serial daters, people who date like it's nobody's business.
Yeah.
Like, you really have to heal. You may think you're healed, but no, you
Mhm.
really have to heal.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. I feel like there's, like, a lot of work that you have to put in, um, like, before you're dating, and then if you were to break up, there's a lot of work that you have to put in after dating,
Mhm,
and I feel like that work also shouldn't just stop while you're
mhm.
dating?
Yeah,
Because, like, you change, the person changes, and you just never wanna get to a point where you're so comfortable where you're not, like, actively still trying to grow.
yeah,
Mhm.
that's true. And you never wanna be with somebody that you're not growing with,
Mhm.
because that's not helpful at all. That's actually draining.
Mhm.
'Cause, like, if you're I feel like I was watching, like, this one girl's TikTok, right? And I know a lot of people know her, and she has 2 kids by her baby daddy, and they are constantly on and off. Like, they're together one day, they're breaking up the next day, and she posted all of it online, and so does he, and they're, like, stuck in a cycle. And
Uh-huh.
it's like, sometimes you gotta get to a point where you realize, like, "Okay, this is not good for me, this is not good for you." Like, we're not growing, we're not bettering each other, we're
Mhm.
actually bringing out the worst in each other. So maybe it's time to just completely walk away, which I feel like that takes
It
a lot
does.
of strength.
Mhm.
But it'll be for the better, because I feel like a lot of people are in that cycle where they're just, like, back and forth to the same people. And it's like, that's how you know you didn't heal from the previous situation, because you keep going
Yeah.
back.
Do
Like,
you do you think people are, like, in a sense, afraid to start over? Like
I feel like they don't feel like they're gonna get any better.
mm,
Like, they're just comfortable. So
yeah.
they're not gonna get any better. I heard a lady say that, like, you're attracted to the spirit in people. You like, have you ever noticed somebody, like, they date somebody and then they kinda date the same person in every relationship? Like, they
Mhm.
attract the same type of people, and was making the point of, like, you're attracted to that specific spirit within that person. So
Yeah.
something within your spirit is connected to whatever it is, whether it's a person who, I don't know, they're like, let's just say they have a lot of childhood trauma. So you're just attracted to people who have, like, this negative childhood trauma because of something in you, and so you keep dating the same type of people. But if you
Yeah.
don't, like, take time to heal and learn that about yourself, you're gonna keep doing it, you know?
Mhm.
I feel like people just are, like, scared, like, they're not gonna get any better, or, like, no one's, because you don't know what's
Yeah.
better until you experience it. So you just feel like, "Oh, this is the best for me," or,
Yeah. Yeah.
like, do you feel like, because, like, with you not dating a lot, but seeing other people date, do you judge other people that you see, like, dating like that? You know what I'm saying? Like, being serial daters?
Do I judge them?
Yeah,
Like
like, what are your thoughts on people that do that?
okay, so when you say serial daters,
Mhm.
like, do you mean, like, people that will, like, in one relationship and then jump right into another one?
Yeah, like,
Um,
they're never single.
I think it's a little questionable. That's actually a good question because I don't know, I feel like it depends. In a sense, I'm more so like, I wouldn't say I judge them, but I think if I'm judging anything, it's more of I kinda, like, judge in a sense of, like, if you knew that the last relationship didn't work out, like, why are you trying to date the same type of person? Or this
Yeah.
like, that is I feel like that's the only thing in general that I would, like, judge per se,
Mhm.
but not, and then I wonder, like, if someone is, like, jumping in and out of relationships, and then I'm also thinking, like, are you afraid of being alone? Like,
Yeah.
and what is it that you, like, might need to address personally if that is
Mhm.
the case?
Yeah.
Um, because, like, that like, you like, being in a relationship that that can bring happiness to you, but, like,
Mhm.
a relationship itself shouldn't be what your happiness is based on.
Yeah.
So if you feel like you have to be in a relationship to be happy, then that's something, like, personally that you need to work on outside of a relationship itself.
Right. Yeah. And I feel like that's, like, a big thing. Like, a lot of
Mhm.
people, they just don't wanna be alone.
Yeah.
And if you're not alone, you're not doing the work. And if you're not doing the
Mhm.
work, you're gonna have the same cycles over and
Yeah.
over.
Yeah. 'Cause it's like you want to like, when you're in a relationship, it shouldn't be like this person 50% and you 50%. And of course, there are going to be times where you may be down, or the person or something may be down, but you both should be bringing 100% of yourselves to the
Mhm.
relationship. So
Right.
it's like, so you have to like work on yourself, you know?
Mhm.
Like that's really important.
Yeah, that's so true.
Yeah.
'Cause I think, like which people say now with our generation, like, marriage is not a big thing, like, people just date, they move in together, they have kids, and they just don't get married, and
Mhm.
I feel like it's because people don't, in my opinion, like, value marriage like it should be, and then that's why
Mhm.
people easily just get divorced because it's like,
Mhm.
"Well, if I get married and I'm not happy, I'll just get a divorce," but
Mhm.
I feel like a divorce is like a death, like, you're literally mourning, like, a
Yeah.
loss of a whole relationship with someone, like, you were married, like, that's a big deal, like, I look at marriage
Mhm.
as a big thing, you know? And so I just
Yeah.
feel like maybe that's part of it, is if people don't value marriage as much, then they're not really valuing the purpose of dating either.
Mhm. Yeah, because 'cause they're not really like what we were saying at the beginning of the conversation, dating can feel scary in a sense because if you are like intentionally dating to get married, but
Mhm.
if you aren't, then it's just kind of like you're just, I don't want to say everyone's just out here trying to have fun, but I mean, but some people are, right?
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, some people are, but if you're not like, if you're saying marriage isn't something that you really want, then you kind of can just like date without that. It's it won't you don't have to take it as serious in a
But do you
sense.
feel like that's fair for people to and I feel like that's mostly guys really. I mean, girls do it too, but
Uh-huh.
I feel like it's mostly guys to just date with no intention of marriage. Do you feel like that's a fair thing to do? Like, getting to a whole relationship is what I'm talking about, like, "Oh, will you
Mhm.
be my girlfriend?" Or, like, "This is my boyfriend," but you have no intentions of marrying the person. Do you feel like that's fair?
If you're honest and upfront about it, yes.
Yeah, yeah. I guess
I
if that's
think
something y'all agree on.
if you're gonna be honest about it, I think it is fair.
Yeah,
I think it is because not everybody wants to be married, and not everyone is going to be married.
yeah.
So, if you guys both agree that that is what you want to do, then I think it is fair. But a lot of times, I feel like sometimes people go into it saying that and they don't really like mean it deep down, you know?
Yeah.
And then and that's where the trouble comes in. But I think it's fair if you guys both agree.
Yeah. I think it's yeah, if you both agree, because some people will just go into it and they know the other person
Hmm.
wants more and they're just kinda like, "Eh, we'll see," like,
No, that's
I
not
don't
fair.
yeah, that's not fair, and I feel like that never worked out because it's like, you're not even on the same page in the beginning, so,
Hmm. Yeah.
I don't know. And then I feel like sometimes when people say that, it's just a cop out. Some people be like, "Oh, I don't ever wanna get married," or, "I don't care about marriage."
Hmm.
If you found the right person
You'd
and they
want to
was
get
serious
married.
about you, you'd wanna get married, but I feel
Yeah.
like people just say that to, like, I don't know, save themselves or something, or
Yeah.
so they don't get hurt, but it's just like, "Honey, I'm gonna let you know, because 'cause you're not gonna waste my time."
I feel like but honestly, like on social media and stuff, and when I see people will post certain things and then like read in the comments, it seems like more so now, like there are women that really don't want to be married. It's like people are starting to downplay marriage. And
Why
I'm
do you
like,
think that is?
I'm like, for- I think for one, just because there's so many people that are getting married and getting divorced, or people are out here getting married and being embarrassed because their
Yeah.
spouses out here doing whatever they want.
Mhm.
Um, and I think that's probably why it's being more so downplayed.
Yeah. And
Um,
but the crazy thing about it is, it's so crazy to me because I feel like marriage is so favored. and you
Mhm.
become so blessed once you get
Mhm.
married. Like, you think about it, like, thinking about it from a spiritual level and then thinking about it from a natural level, that's 2
Yeah.
incomes.
Mhm.
You have like, if you have kids, that's 2 people taking care of the kids, 2
Mhm.
sides of the family to help if they wanna help. I just
Mhm.
feel like it's just like you're both bringing if you're where you're supposed to be, you're both bringing a lot to the table and to the
Mhm.
marriage that
Mhm.
you have no choice but to thrive. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And then, of
Yeah.
course, we know God blesses marriage and he honors it. So,
Mhm.
on top of just the natural favor, you got favor from God in your marriage, and so I feel like marriage is just, like, such a beautiful thing, like,
Yeah.
and so that's why I just don't understand people downplaying it,
Mhm.
and, like, if you just hurt, just say you hurt. Like,
Yeah.
don't try to downplay marriage and people getting married, like, that's still a
Yeah.
beautiful thing, you know?
Yeah. And when you, like, explain it that way, I would probably say more so it's more so downplayed outside of, like, the spiritual aspect of
Mhm.
it. 'Cause I
Yeah.
feel like at least, like, those that are, like, followers of Christ,
Mhm.
I feel like marriage is still honored within believers
Mhm.
or those that are, like, actively, like, following the word of God, um, but I think it's more so, like, outside
Yeah.
the worldly aspect of marriage that is more so downplayed than those that are believers, I
Yeah,
think.
but then there's, like, a on the opposite end of that, sometimes, like, believers, in my opinion, are a little desperate for it. So, it's like you have, like, the worldly view of, like, "Oh,
Mhm,
nonchalant, whatever, like, I don't
mhm.
care to get married, or I won't get married until I'm in my 30s," or whatever, and then you have
Yeah,
some believers that are kinda, like, desperate for marriage and kinda, like, I don't know, like, that's their only life goal in life.
yeah,
Like, their life
like,
don't
I'll
start
marry the
until
first
that
person
happens.
that asks.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's just like you have 2 extremes of it. Like,
Mhm.
some people, marriage is like their end all be all, and then some people, it's like marriage is whatever, like, I don't care.
Yeah,
Where's the balance?
yeah. I
It's
like
that
it's hard for people to find a balance in everything these days.
yeah, it's one extreme to the next.
Uh-huh, uh-huh. Yep.
That's crazy, yeah, that's so true. I don't know, I just feel like, thinking about it, Jenny Mai. Her and Jeezy and their divorce and people talking about, how it's, like, so out the blue and, like, he did her so dirty and stuff like that, and it's her 2nd marriage. I don't think he's ever been
Mhm,
married before. Like, h
mhm.
what is your view on that? Because a lot of people are, like, kinda bashing her, in my opinion, about him wanting a divorce from her.
Yeah, honestly, I didn't really know too much about them beforehand. Like, I knew her from The Real,
Mhm.
and, like, I've heard of his name, but I didn't really, like, know too much about them per se, but I don't know, like, either honestly, I feel like we only see what we see. We never really like, we'll never know what was really going on inside the home or the challenges that they personally face, but divorce is still divorce.
Mhm.
And I feel like at some point you still have to have some compassion for
Yeah.
the person that is going through a divorce, whether I don't know what went down, and I even heard, like, some people, like, bring up comments that she said as far as,
Mhm.
"Oh, this relationship was doomed from the beginning." She never like, I don't know, it was something like she didn't date black men or something like that.
Mhm. Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I can understand people, like, feeling some type of way about it, but like you said, like, divorce is like a death.
Yeah, literally, and they have a
That
daughter. So
yeah,
it's like, still
and
gonna
they
have to
have
deal with each other. That
mhm,
disrupts her life.
yeah. I think it's still it's pretty sad. It makes me kinda wonder though, because they weren't married that long, right?
Probably like 2 years, I think.
And she was just getting out of a divorce? I think.
Yeah, yeah, she was married for I don't wanna say the wrong thing, but I wanna say 7 years, and then
Mhm.
I don't know, cause I feel like she did meet Jeezy and start dating him kinda quick, but then again, like you said, we only know what we know, so I don't
Yeah.
know how long she was divorced before they got together, but that just goes back to my point of people fully healing. I feel like a marriage is literally a death, so you need to
Mhm.
really take time and heal from that, you know,
Yeah.
and I don't agree with people, like, kicking her when she's down, because I mean, she's going through a divorce, and that's pretty tough, that could be anybody, but I do
Yeah.
feel like, eh, maybe healing a little bit more after your first marriage
Mhm.
coulda helped,
Mhm.
you know,
Yeah.
because people is downplaying that healing process, like, you gotta go through it, you literally have to.
Yeah. Yeah. And then I also think, like I don't know the reason why they got divorced, but it still makes me wonder because you're always like all marriages you're gonna go through ups and downs, but I feel
Mhm.
like sometimes people I don't know the situation. But was it something that could have been worked on?
Could've
Or
been.
was it really just like
Nah.
there's no coming back from
Yeah.
this? I
I
don't.
I seen some people saying, like, they don't feel like they knew each other well enough before getting
Mhm.
married. 'Cause I heard speculations of what the reasons could have been, and to
Mhm.
me, the reasons didn't sound like divorce worthy. But we I mean, you think about it, if you didn't really know someone all too well before getting
Mhm.
married, then yeah, that could be like, "Okay, that's something I don't wanna deal with for the rest of my life."
Yeah. So what would you say is like the shortest time period and between dating someone and then being like, "Oh, I think I would marry this person." Or
The
like you
shortest?
or you feel like you would yeah, the shortest.
That depends because they say, like, the Christian girls, when they date, they date, get married, and have a kid all within, like, the first year or 2 of knowing each other,
Mhm.
which is true because they move pretty fast. But I feel like naturally a year
A year.
of dating.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then
Yeah.
after a year, I feel like, you know, you just kinda know, like, you should have known before that year, but a year gives you time to get to know
Yeah.
each other more and talk about important things that come up in marriage, to make sure you're on the same
Right.
page.
Right.
But I feel like a
I
year is reasonable.
I feel like I used to hear well, I've heard people say that guys usually know within, like, the first 6 months.
Mhm.
And I used to, like before dating, I used to say I would probably know, like, between, like, 6 months to a year. But now I feel like it would have to be at least a year.
Yeah.
Mhm. It'd have to be at least a year for me.
I don't necessarily see anything wrong with maybe 6 months if
Yeah,
you really know, if you really
if
know.
you really know, yeah.
Yeah, but, I mean, a year I feel like is reasonable. I feel like a year is
Yeah.
reasonable. But 5
6
years,
months to a
honey,
year.
no. Yeah, 5 years, no. People
I
that
feel
be dating
I feel
5,
like
6 years.
after 2 years,
Mhm.
if you still feel like you're not sure if you wanna marry me, then it's probably a no.
Exactly. 2
It's
years? What are you waiting on? Like, no. No, I
it's
feel like that's
probably a
silly.
no by then.
Yeah, no, because 'cause I'm not made to be your girlfriend, sweetie.
But would you wait though? I feel like okay, so would you wait though if you were younger? Because I feel like we're at the age now where if you've been dating for someone for 6 months and you feel like they're the person, like, then you would be fully invested in just going ahead and get married. But I feel like
Mhm.
it would be different if you were
Younger.
still mhm. Do you feel
I could
like
see that.
you would
If
be
you're,
open
like,
to still
younger,
wait?
like, say you met, like, 19 and you waited until you were, like, 23 to get married, I could see that.
Yeah.
But being this age, in your late 20s,
Mhm.
and you're waiting until we're in our 30s, for what? My eggs are drying up. Like, why are we waiting? Why are we waiting so long? Because I definitely feel like like, you know.
Yeah, I agree with yeah. Mhm.
And
For
then
sure.
even, like, if you think you know, I feel like you'll get signs to confirm, like,
Mhm.
this is not it," or like, "Yeah, that's it," you know?
Mhm. Yeah,
Um,
because they say they say that you're never, like, ready.
mhm,
Like, it's not always gonna be, like there's times that are better than others, but there's never, like, the perfect time.
mhm.
So if you feel like you might as well just go ahead and tie the knot.
Might as well. But Imma need God to send me a bird and a pigeon and a dream, and then come down on earth and tell me it's right, just so I can
I
make sure.
know, it's I don't know, it's for me, it's just so scary to, like
Mhm.
it's scary to think about
It
choosing the
is.
right or the wrong person.
That is scary.
Mhm. And I'm an overthinker, so Imma be thinking the ins and outs of how this could go good or how this could go wrong and all
Mhm.
that.
Yeah. Yeah, that is a scary thing. Maybe that's why people just don't get married anymore
Yeah,
'cause they're
yeah,
scared.
yeah. Some people like, I've even heard someone say that they didn't wanna get married because they were afraid to get divorced.
Yeah.
So, it's I can understand feeling that way, but
Mhm.
just the way that I am, like, trying to intentionally date, I couldn't just date for forever.
Mm-mm. Yeah, no. And I
That
feel like
sounds
that's why it's important, like I mean, everybody doesn't date the same way, and I get that, but I feel like for me, that's why it's important to make sure I'm getting confirmation from God.
mhm.
'Cause I understand being afraid of divorce, but I feel like if I got confirmation from God, then if He's up in there, He
You're
not
gonna
gonna
be
let it break
good.
apart. Yeah, we're
Yeah,
good.
you're good. You'll go through
Mhm.
what you go through, but at the end of the day, it's like, what did the Lord tell you? So,
Exactly.
just
Mm.
go to Him when you're having those troubles, because He's gonna help y'all through.
Right.
And so what advice would you give to anyone out there that's dating or looking to start dating? So what would you give them advice for their journey?
I think my advice would, number 1, be to date yourself and
Mhm.
to know yourself. I feel
Yeah.
like once you are secure in yourself and you know because you're always gonna continue to learn yourself, but you know who you are to a point where, like, you have respect for yourself and you love yourself.
Mhm.
And then when it comes to dating, for me, God has to be in the center.
Mhm.
And I feel like if I know myself, I love myself, and God is in the center of my dating life, I'll be okay. So I feel like that's good advice
Yeah,
to
that
have
is
when
good.
dating.
I agree with, like, the knowing yourself, because if you know yourself, then when you start dating, you don't have that person to try to tell you who you are, because you
Mhm.
know who you are. So that's
Mhm.
really good advice. And I would also say, to be honest and upfront about what it is that you want going into a relationship, and then seeing if that's what the other person wants as well. Like, for example, are you dating to get married?
Mhm.
And so you wanna make sure the other person is doing the same thing as well, so you're just not, like, out here wasting each other's time. And then, just not, like of course, you're always going to compromise one way or another, but, knowing for sure what are the things that, um, are your, like what do they say? Like, what are the
The deal
things that
breaker.
you're Yeah, knowing for sure what your deal breakers are before going into the relationship so that that person's not able to kinda, like, sway you one way or the
Mhm.
other. Yeah, so that would be my advice as well.
Yeah, that's good advice for sure. No, if you don't know your deal breakers, you'll go for anything. So,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
So I hope that you all were able to get something out of today's episode on relationships. Make sure that you like, comment, or subscribe, and we hope to see you in the next video.
Bye. Where are you going, sweetie? Don't forget to hit that subscribe button as well as head on over to our lovely TikTok at CuteConvos and don't forget to follow. See you next time.